Is your body feeling tight and restricted? A lot of times these feelings can stop people from exercising consistently or exercising at all. So if you are feeling this way, where should you start with your exercise? On this week's episode of the Exercise is Health podcast is exactly what we're discussing. We're going to cue our introduction and then we're going to dive right into this conversation. Hey, welcome back, exercisers, to the Exercise is Health podcast, brought to you by Exercise for Life Studios, where we believe that your health is your most valuable asset. And the single best thing that you can do to both boost and protect this asset is exercise. Specifically, exercise is geared towards building the health and function of your muscles. We're your hosts, Charlie
and Julie.
And today we are discussing this idea of where should you start if your body's feeling super tight, super restricted, but you know that you want to exercise. You know you need to be exercising, but you don't know what to do because these feelings of tightness, these feelings of restriction, and oftentimes it leads to like borderline painful of like, oh, my body just doesn't feel good. Maybe it's feeling achy, something like that. But we're specifically talking about, hey, like your joints are feeling tight, your muscles are feeling tight, things are feeling restricted. How do you go about exercising? Where should you start with your workouts? That's what we want to discuss with you today.
I'm pumped about this conversation because, Charlie, I don't know if it's just my perspective, but I think most people, when they have stuff going on where it's like a multi-level thing that they want to start changing, they always put exercise last. Let me give you a couple examples. Like, hey, I want to lose weight, so let me work on my nutrition for 6 months, and then I'm going to start exercising. Or like the one we're talking about today, oh, I need to start working on either my exercise or getting looser or being stronger or whatever. So I'm going to do massages and stretching for 6 months. And then I'm going to start exercising. Like exercise is always like the second thing or the last thing.
Yeah, second thing at best. Or
the last thing.
Right. Or even like, hey, like I feel like I want to start sleeping better. Like my sleep feels weird. People rarely think of exercise. They're like, okay, well, I'm going to do this for my nighttime routine. Maybe I'm going to change my mattress. And it's like, okay, well, are you like moving throughout your day? Like
right.
that would be a big thing, a big step in the right direction. So yeah, you're absolutely right about that, Julie.
Right. And I think a huge part of this stems from, number one, there's just not a lot of education out there about exercise. Exercise is just kind of like sports, but by yourself. Like sports when you're young and then sports by yourself when you're older, but like at the gym. But also how to do these exercises. Like, I am not surprised a lot of people don't exercise due to like pain stuff because people don't know how to exercise, so it makes their pain or discomfort worse, or like they're scared of getting injured. And so that's why we have this podcast. But that's also what we're going to be talking about today is like if you really are experiencing some excessive tightness, really limited, you're feeling so restricted or stiff, some people call it, where do you start? A lot of people don't start with resistance training and exercise, and that's where we think you should start, but we're going to talk about why.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember working with a client a while back whose knee was feeling incredibly stiff, incredibly achy, and it seemed like that was a thing that was actually stopping her from exercising. And so because of that, she wasn't exercising at all. And then once we started applying the principles that we're going to discuss with you today and started doing so on a regular basis, getting her muscles stronger, getting her muscles functioning better, making sure that she was moving consistently, strength training, everything that we're going to talk about, within a couple months, all of a sudden that tightness that had been there for like years started to go away and stayed away. To the point where like she doesn't feel like she needs to do her stretching. She doesn't need to go to massage. She doesn't need to do all the things she was doing before with the different therapists to, you know, break up the stuff that was, you know, allegedly in her tissues or whatever. So, you know, her knee would move better and feel looser. She didn't have to do any of that simply because she started exercising in the way that we're going to talk about today, and has been able to continue to do so on a regular basis. So if you're feeling like you got anything going on with like knees, shoulders, back, things are feeling tight, feeling restricted or whatever, you feel like, yeah, that's the reason that I shouldn't exercise, actually want to flip that on its head in your mind and start thinking, okay, actually, this is the reason why I should exercise. I just need to do so in a very specific manner, and we want to teach you how to go about doing that today.
I think to start, one thing that everyone needs to understand, I don't know why this isn't part of like kindergarten, but we teach our little kids this. But to keep your body healthy and to keep your muscles healthy, you need to move them. They need to regularly move. So if you're looking at your body and there's anything going on, whether it's diagnosed or not diagnosed, or you think it's super bad, or you think it's pretty mild, whatever, the first question always is, are you regularly moving it? Because if you're not, then you need to start. It's almost like saying like, oh, I just feel like I have terrible nutrition. Like I just eat pizza every day. So the first question would be like, do you get any nutrients throughout the day? You're like, well, only what comes in cheese and pepperoni. That's all I get. So you would think, okay, well, the first thing before we say like you have a destroyed gut health is, hey, let's get some variety in there and get different kinds of nutrients. Same thing goes for your muscles, your joints, and really your whole body. Our bodies need to regularly move. So if you're not regularly moving, your body will be served really well if you just do the simple thing of start moving in places that you haven't yet started moving. And then the second thing that I do want to bring up is this tightness thing can be uncomfortable. Like what Charlie alluded to, like it can get borderline uncomfortable or whatever. And especially if you do already move and regularly exercise, you might start wanting to blame things that you can't control. Here's a really common one. I have really tight hamstrings because I'm tall. My doctor said because I'm tall, I'm really tight in the hamstrings. Well, I've seen a lot of people with tight hamstrings that are short too. So it's not.
And a lot of tall people that don't have tight hamstrings.
That's right. That's right. Like Charlie, he's 6'4", he does not have tight hamstrings. So here's the thing though, is that if you do have tightness going on or excessive restriction or those limitations, you feel like you just can't move the way you want to move, then there is a lot that can be done by just changing your exercise or adding your exercise. And we're talking about specifics of how and why. But again, we recommend this be the first thing you do because muscles thrive off of contraction, which usually results in movement. And so when we can feed it the fuel that it's looking for, a lot of times things resolve by themselves without having to go get a diagnosis or go get a scan or anything like that. And if it doesn't resolve all of it, it will probably resolve a big chunk of it at least.
Yeah, it's really remarkable just how powerful just that consistent movement can be throughout your day. Now, we're not talking about like never sitting down or anything like that, but just not sitting for, say, like 4 hours at a time, 3 hours at a time. Like break up those times where it would be kind of large bouts of being relatively sedentary and just get up and move consistently throughout your day. You know, we call this like your all the time exercise where it's, you know, every hour or so you're getting up and moving 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes at a time. And just that slight shift of just going from really not doing much at all to just starting to move consistently throughout your day. Or if you are exercising, but then you're sedentary the rest of the day, just adding in that little bit of movement consistently throughout your day, that'll make a big difference in that kind of tightness that you're feeling, those restrictions that you might be feeling throughout your body. And then we can start to dial in, okay, what are you doing during your higher exertion periods? The things that we typically call your workouts. So we might call like your build bucket or you're doing exercise to that is your special event exercise is the phrase that I'm looking for. So that's where we're going to go, but understand that really is the first step, is just making sure that you are moving consistently throughout your day. It's tough though. Like when your body's feeling tight, when your body is feeling restricted, to consistently say, okay, yeah, like I'm going to get up and move. I'm going to get up and move. It's really challenging to do that because at least for that area of your body, it's saying, don't do this. Don't do a whole bunch of motion here. So it's really easy to say, okay, well, you know, obviously this part of my body is telling me that I shouldn't do a whole bunch of motion, so I'm not going to move any part of my body because of that. But we want to encourage you, get up, move consistently, you know, at least every hour or so, getting up and moving a little bit, and just that little switch will start to make a difference, or can start to make a big difference in how that tightness is feeling in those restrictions. And then we can start to talk about what you do from your workouts from there.
So when we're thinking about it like that, Charlie, where you're thinking about getting up throughout your day, you're almost like trying to teach your body what is the normal environment that we're going to be in. Like think about the last time you took like a really long car ride, like 4 hours in the car, or your really long flight or something, and you stood up after those 4 hours and you're like, man, it feels so good to move. And you almost feel a little stiff. It's temporary, but you feel a little bit stiff, right? But think about the last time you did an hour-long drive. You still felt kind of stiff when you stood up. You didn't feel like free and flowy and stuff after you did that. But think about what we do in our day. During the day, a lot of us work at a desk. So we're sitting for an hour, but it doesn't necessarily feel like the hour car ride, but your body is still perceiving it that way because you're still sitting. Or in the evening when you sit down and watch a movie that's 3 hours. You just sat for 3 hours and you're teaching your body that this movement thing is not really all that necessary or mandatory. So think about that throughout your day of like, what am I teaching my body that is normal? Am I teaching it that we should be this stationary, immobile thing? Or am I showing it like, hey, we got to regularly move. We're going to regularly move. I'm going to set my timer so that we regularly move. I'm going to drink a whole bunch of water so I have to get up and go to the bathroom and regularly move. Whatever tactic is going to work for you, but you choose the environment your body gets to be in. And your body is always going to adapt to that environment. So make sure you're thinking about that. But the second piece we do want to get into, other than you got to move throughout your day, is that you need to be strength training. And if you are currently strength training, I want you to really listen closely, because if you are currently strength training and you're still really tight and restricted, there's some tweaks you need to make that we're going to review.
Absolutely. So there are really 4 key principles that you need to understand about resistance training in order to make sure that it will help to improve your flexibility, help to kind of reduce that tightness that you are experiencing throughout your body. And this is dramatically different than just going and lifting weights or going and doing a group class or something like this. Now, don't get me wrong. You can apply these principles to that group fitness atmosphere and get similar type results. Absolutely 100%. But I want it to be framed in your mind differently so you understand that this is not just about, like pumping iron, cranking out reps, everything like that. This is about stimulating your body, nudging your body, stimulating your muscles so you can go in the right direction, the direction that you want to go from a movement, flexibility, sensation standpoint, okay? And so the first thing that you need to understand is your range of motion while you're doing the exercise and staying within your symptom-free range of motion while you're doing the exercise. So that means like if something is feeling particularly tight or particularly restricted, do the exercise, but don't be trying to like get past that tightness. Don't be trying to get past that restriction within the exercise. See the tightness, see the restriction as a guideline of like, okay, well, this is as far as my body is saying that I should go when I start to feel this tightness, when I start to feel this restriction. And then just do your exercise within that amount of motion. That may not be a lot of motion for you right now, and that's okay, because what we see time and again is that when you stay within your symptom-free range of motion, your body will allow you to have more motion that ends up being symptom-free. And you don't have to bust through the tightness. You don't have to bust through the restrictions, anything like that. You just do it with the exercise where it's symptom-free, where it feels good, using the tightness and the restriction as a guideline of where you should not go any farther. And then that will stimulate your body in the right direction such that it will allow you to have more motion without the tightness, without the restriction.
Okay, so let's walk through this together, because this is like critical. And it's one that when you are exposed to exercise and when you are first learning about the gym, unless we are your first exposure, you are probably told that this tightness, stretching feeling is good and we should lean or push into it a little bit more. And we're saying don't do that. Okay, so you're sitting on the leg press, or let's take a squat, because everyone can do a squat without a machine. You're doing your squat and you're going to slowly go down and you're going to try to figure out, well, like, how far should I go down? You're like, well, Julie and Charlie, I'm listening to this because I'm restricted. That's why I'm listening to this. So let's say you go down 6 inches. And at 6 inches down, which is maybe a quarter squat for most people, like not a full range, not like what you see in a magazine or what the instructors are doing, you start feeling like your muscles are starting to stretch, like that stretching tight feeling. And that's where we're telling you to stop and then return back up. Now, in your brain, you're probably thinking, yeah, but I probably should push through further. Aren't I trying to increase my range of motion, right? So shouldn't I just let my butt go lower, even though yada, yada, yada. What we want you to do is listen to your body. So your body at 6 inches down, for example, a quarter of a squat, is giving you a signal that it is tightening up. And that is telling you, this is my end. And you get the choice whether you're going to listen and respect your body's signals or ignore them. And so we recommend, and we see time and again, that when you actually stop and respect your motion, no matter what it looks like, no matter if it's a quarter squat, full squat, half squat, whatever, no matter what it looks like, as long as it's respectful of your range of motion, your motion will open up when your body's ready. And more often than not, unless there's some very, very serious issue going on, like multiple bone spurs all over the place, arthritis all over the place, structural issues, a broken bone, your body usually opens up really quickly, more quickly than we think. But we never usually give it the opportunity, right? No one ever usually does squats like this because we think, oh, I have to get my butt down. Oh, I have to get my butt to my heels. Oh, I have to look like the trainer or the instructor because that's the right, quote unquote, right way to do it. The right way to do an exercise is to match your range of motion and be listening to your body for signals that it should stop. Tight, pain, pinching, stretching. Those are all the same signal of stop, of don't go further. Your body has no other way to tell you when to stop except for those kinds of signals. So it's our job as the person, or our brain's job as the brain directing this exercise, to say like, oh, I'm feeling something other than muscle squeezing. I should stop and turn around. And you'll be shocked. The more that you do this, the more you'll see how your body will grow its range of motion by itself without you having to force it, meaning turn off your brain or push through pain signals or do intensive passive stretching. The more you respect your range of motion, listen to your body's cues, the more range your body is going to give you.
Exactly. Now, this can seem counterintuitive for a couple different reasons. First of all is what we're traditionally taught, that if we want to increase our range of motion, then we need to kind of force the range of motion to increase. Like, oh, our body's just not going to, improve its range of motion on its own. So, it is incumbent upon us to force our joints to move more than they want to at this moment. And that is the only way that our body will end up moving more. Like that has been the predominant thought for decades around like how to increase your range of motion. But the fact of the matter is it's just not true. In fact, when you do respect your body's range of motion, don't continuously try to push through where it's telling you to stop moving, and do so in a very mindful way where you're trying to connect with your muscles and really stimulate your muscles, you will find that your range of motion does increase, and it can increase pretty dramatically. It's really cool. The other reason why this can be counterintuitive is because so often the advice from the mainstream fitness industry is exactly the opposite of this. Not only from a range of motion standpoint, but from like how to do an exercise standpoint. You'll say, okay, well, you need to do full range of motion, and they will give very normative standards of what full range of motion is. If you are doing a shoulder press, you go from this degree to this degree, and it's arms all the way up and arms all the way down. If you're doing a squat, you're going from standing, all the way until your butt touches your calves, or until you break parallel or whatever, right? There's all these standards of like, well, if you're not doing it this way, then you're not doing the exercise like the right way, and then you're not going to get all the benefits of the exercise. And that in itself is complete nonsense as well. Now, sometimes this gets a little bit sticky because especially within like bodybuilding communities, there's this idea that tries to be taken advantage of called stretch mediated hypertrophy, which essentially means like one of the ways that bodybuilders will try to get their muscles to grow is by putting them on more of a stretch. That's not what we're talking about with this, okay? That strategy with exercise is done for a very specific population with a very specific goal in mind, all right? What we are talking about is how in the world do you exercise when your body doesn't feel like going into those, extremes of stretches? And how can you exercise in a way that you can keep coming back to it, okay? Not how can you slap the most muscle onto your frame in, over the next 5 to 10 years. This is the second episode in a row where I've knocked my microphone. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're seeing it. If you're listening to the podcast on Apple or Spotify, you're missing all these great visuals of me using my hands and just karate chopping my microphone.
The mics.
Exactly. Okay. So point being is, if you're listening to this and you're thinking to yourself, okay, yeah, but what about this, this stretch mediated hypertrophy and everything like that? Look, there are so many ways to get your muscles to grow that have nothing to do with violating your range of motion. And so for most people, unless you are in like the nth degree of, the professional bodybuilding ranks, and you are really trying to maximize every mechanism that you can in order to build more muscle, You don't really need to focus on doing the stretch mediate hypertrophy thing in order to build muscle. There are so many ways that won't violate your range of motion, that will actually respect how your joints are moving on that day and how your neuromuscular system is oriented on that day, with far fewer risks of negative repercussions. So just understand where we're coming from with that. If you are in that nth degree, or you're like, well, I've maxed out all the other mechanisms, I really want to go for this, then have at it. But more than likely, that's not where you're at right now. So just understand where we're coming from.
In fact, you might be listening up to this point and be like, Julie and Charlie, y'all are missing the mark. I am listening to this because the title said, if you're tight and if you're restricted. And I have always heard that why would I want to strengthen muscles if they're already tight, right? Some of you are thinking that. I am a mind reader. Well, here's the thing. Our bodies generally will get tight because there are weak muscles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? When your body can't handle motion, i.e. it's too weak to do motion, or your body's like getting a stress signal like, don't let them put their limb over there. Don't let them touch down. Don't let them have a big motion in their spine. More often than not, because muscles are weak, meaning you're not using them, you're not conditioning them, you're not strengthening them. And so that's why the biggest thing is, if you have tight muscles and you're listening to this, you've probably already tried stretching, and you were probably hoping we were going to give you that one magical stretching tip that you hadn't already gotten, but you already have 50 of them. Or a certain massage technique that is going to finally be the one that relaxes all the muscles. So all of these modalities, massage, stretching, trigger point, something, whatever, anything that relaxes your body as the modality to make change is like in one category, okay? And you've probably already done a whole bunch of that, right? And so the thing that is often missing from this whole story when you're trying to address tightness, especially like long term, like if you want to get out of the cycle of like, every day I have to do some kind of relaxation technique. Every day I got to put on my heating pad. Every other day I've got to go to get my massage. Once a week a massage. If I can stretch it to 2 weeks, it's a miracle. That's like a cycle of like your body saying, no, we need to restrict, and you forcing relaxation. So if you want to get out of that cycle, the biggest thing you can do is to start strength training, but being sure that you're being respectful of your range of motion. And yes, we know this sounds counterintuitive, but as soon as you do it, especially like once or twice, you're going to realize, dang, they were right. The more that you respect your range of motion and you strengthen your muscles, you don't try to weaken them and relax them, the more your body will be able to get released from this cyclical thing of like, my body wants to restrict and I'm trying to force relaxation. My body wants to get tight and I'm trying to force this, smooth, lengthy muscle thing, whatever it is. But the big picture thing that's missing is the regular input of strength.
You're absolutely right, Julie, because you can see changes so quickly when you start to implement this one tip of doing strength training where you are respecting your range of motion. Here's the thing. You need to be paying attention to your body while you're doing it, because you will notice changes like within that first workout or two of like, okay, yeah, my body is moving differently than it was before, and in a good way. But if you are looking for like giant changes, well, you're going to be like, oh, this thing doesn't work. No. This is going to be, it will start off subtle. And the more you do it, the more and more and more noticeable it will become, in part because you're becoming better in tune with what's going on with your body. But the other aspect of this is most ways of resistance training, most ways of strength training that people do actually lead to them feeling tighter, actually lead to them feeling more restricted, all right? And so if nothing else, you'll be doing your strength training in a way that doesn't leave you feeling that way, that actually leaves you feeling not tighter, not more restricted, all the negative stuff that we typically associate with resistance training, like, oh gosh, I don't want to lift legs today, like I'm not going to be able to walk tomorrow, everything's going to be so aching and tight. You're not going to have to worry about that, because you'll be able to get to the end of your workout and the day after and 2 days after and be like, yeah, things are still moving good. I don't feel that tightness that normally creeps in after I lift weights. I don't feel my joints are restricted like I normally do after I lift weights. So that's a really, really key thing that I want to bring up. You may have heard at the beginning or right near the introduction that I said there are 4 variables to consider. We only talked about one today, but this is a really, really big one. The fact of the matter is that the other 3 we have covered a lot throughout all of our other podcasts, and we will continue to cover in podcast episodes going forward. So if you're familiar with our content, you can probably name what those other 3 are right now. If not, pay attention, because we're going to keep bringing them up throughout, future episodes, and you can go back and listen to past episodes as well. But we also implement every one of these 4 key principles within workouts within the Exercise for Life membership. And one where we really hammered it home was the Fit and Flexible program. And the program was specifically designed to teach you how to lift weights in a way that actually leaves you feeling more flexible, that actually increases your flexibility in a noticeable amount and leaves your body feeling less tight, less achy, less sore, less restricted. And what was so cool is that's what we saw across the board when people joined us for this Fit and Flexible program. By implementing these 4 key principles, they were able to get that result from their workouts. It was really cool to see.
Absolutely. Now, if you were listening to this, always remember the biggest one for flexibility is respecting your range of motion, not forcing it. But if you want to do it with us, join our membership, because we have so many programs in there. And if you're listening and you're like, yeah, but I want to do exactly what we're talking about, do the Fit and Flexible program right away. You're going to love it. We do it with you. The whole reason we actually created the membership is because we had this podcast and people were like, so are you going to do it with us? Because you keep explaining it, but let's do it. So that's what the membership is for. So go to www.exerciseforlifestudios.com/membership. We have a couple options on how to become a member, but once you become a member, you get immediate access to our entire library of different programs, one of which is the Fit and Flexible program. But every single program is designed to help keep your flexibility, keep your biggest range of motion, respect your body, and make it repeatable, because we all know this fitness thing we got to keep returning to so that it can keep promoting our health. We can't just have a one workout for our whole life that's going to change our health. It has to be that repeatable thing. But again, all of our workouts are designed to make sure that you can really keep and maintain your flexibility. No workout ever should be leaving you tighter or less flexible.
So who do you know that needs to hear this episode? Who do you know that is wanting to work out but feeling like their body is too tight or too restricted in order to work out? Share this episode with them so they can understand the one big thing to really focus on with their workouts that will help leave their body feeling less tight, feeling less restricted, and more able to come back and exercise again the next day. And while you're online, head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review. It helps people find our podcast when they're looking for information on exercise and they're looking for information on health. So if you found value in this conversation today, let us know by leaving us that 5-star rating and review. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. We always appreciate it. Have a fantastic week, and we'll talk with you all next week. This podcast is for information purposes only. The statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Julie and Charlie Gates, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements or advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical issue, consult a licensed physician.